and welcome to Tuesdays with Annette. Hi, it's my home ec with Annette class, so I hope you have downloaded the recipe for today, which is the rock cakes out of book 3. That's right, it's out of this fabulous book 3. There's the recipe that we're doing on the show today. It's also in the Cooking for 1 or 2 books, so you can either make a dozen or half a dozen, up to you. Now, this rock cake recipe is the easiest thing ever, so if you've ever been frightened about cooking anything, then rest assured today is your day to become a gourmet cook, because rock cakes are the easiest recipe on the planet. Now, before we start the class, I want you to preheat your oven to 200 degrees fan forced, okay? Because it's a hot oven and we need that to be, the lightness to be off before you put the rock cakes in, okay? With any baking, anything in the oven, you always make sure the light's off before you start. So let's wash our hands for 20 seconds because we're still doing the hygiene thing, and then we're gonna start. And I'm really looking forward to this week's recipe because it's going to be the best afternoon tea at Simply Too Good headquarters, that's for sure. And so rock cakes actually originally came from the UK and Ireland. And I think there was somebody that just didn't know how to make a scone. All right, there we go. I am fabulous. So before we start though, I want to talk about last week's show. We did the corn fritters and we had 3 fabulous winners. Now, Denise Ferguson, she picked book 3. Heather Ferguson, I don't think they're related, picked 1 and 2, Cooking for 1 or 2. And Natalie Lumbie, hi Natalie, she also did book 3, and that was the corn fritters. It was fabulous. So let's look at the ingredients we need for the show. Now remember, it's rock cakes out of book 3 or Cooking 1 or 2. And what you need, and this is, I've got to tell you, this is a recipe I make a lot because I always have this in my pantry or fridge. So I've got 2 egg whites. I want some cinnamon, some Floralite margarine, some skim milk, dried fruit, sugar, white sugar, self-raising flour, and cooking spray. Boom! That's it. I know, how easy is that? So what I've got is I've got a bowl to make up the recipe. I've got my scales because I like to measure the butter instead of doing it with the spoons because I find that super easy. I've got a baking tray ready to go for my rock cakes, and as well I've got some measure cups to measure the ingredients with. I've got my wooden spoon, I've got a scraper and a little whisk. You can use a fork if you don't have one, so don't worry. I've got some spoons here, teaspoon measures. Yeah, just make sure you've got everything out before we get started. So rock cakes, yes, it is a kind of a take on scones, but it's actually quite different because you don't roll it out and you don't shape them. It's all about the rough shape, the rough look, and it's a wetter mix. So there is a little bit of a difference to it. So what we're going to do first is I want to do the dry mix. So we have the dry and the wet. So have you got your bowl ready? Have you got your ingredients out? You got your oven on? Your hands are washed? Let's go. All right, so we start with the flour. Now we need self-raising flour, and I want 2 cups. So measure your 2 cups of self-raising flour. And we're going to sift it, because it's always good to sift, into the bowl. And this is how easy it is. It's basically a dry mix, a wet mix, put it together and you are done. All right, so there's our flour done. Put my lid back on. We're going to put in the sugar, which is 1/4 of a cup. So have you got your measure cup out? Don't guess these things. You need to measure them out or weigh them out because it can actually mess up a recipe, and you don't want to be wasting ingredients or your time by not doing it right. So we want 1/4 of a cup. In it goes, and you'll find that you don't need a lot of sugar in it because of the dried fruit. And that's what I find often, like with my fruit cakes and that, I don't even put sugar in them because they're so sweet with the natural fruit. We now need a cup of dried fruit, mixed dried fruit. So it's a mixture of, you know, sultanas, raisins, cherries, mixed peel, currants. I love it. Oh, look at those beautiful cherries in there. So we want a cup. So have you got yours measured out? So we're in our bowl, we've got the 2 cups of self-raising sifted flour. We did the 1/4 cup of white sugar. Now in goes the fruit. If, for example, you go, I don't have mixed fruit, you know what, you could make up your own. You could put some currants, sultanas, raisins, whatever. Some people don't like mixed peel, so you might want to do that. But in this, I find it works well. Oh, we've done the sugar. Cinnamon. Okay, this is an important ingredient in this traditional recipe. We're going to go down to 1/4 of a teaspoon. We don't need a lot because we don't want it to dominate. Put that in, 1/4 of a teaspoon. And I like to just, you know, mix them all up. If you've got like clumps of fruit together, then break it up because you don't want them to be in big clumps. All right. This is such a great recipe, and I find that it's one of those ones that I make a lot when I get surprise visitors. That's right, because you know what happens if you've got visitors coming, they've just rung you, and you go, I've got nothing, I've got a dry old cracker in the pantry, then you can make this within 30 minutes, you'll have them on a plate ready to go with a cup of tea. That's how easy it is. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the wet mix. All right, so I always measure it this way. If you don't have digital scales, then you do 4 tablespoons. And that's when you do a tablespoon, it's always flat. It's not like full to the top, but I'm going to measure it out and put 60 grams of Floralite margarine. And we're going to melt this in the microwave. So 60 grams. I'm so glad you joined me today. And if you've just tuned in, hello, you've missed the beginning. Where are you? And it's the rock cakes I'm making out of book 3 and cooking for 1 or 2. So this is an easy, so delicious recipe that my family love. It's really an old-fashioned recipe, actually. Really old-fashioned. It goes back to the great-grandmother days, and I like bringing back the classics. I really do. So I'm going to cling wrap that, turn that off, and I'm just going to melt the margarine, and I'll come back. So put it in your microwave. I lower the temperature a little bit so it doesn't splatter everywhere. One of you guys, I forget who it was now, one of my lovely followers told me, put cling wrap over it, Annette. And I went, yeah, what a good idea. So thank you for helping me. But I've got a question for you, an important question. Now, if you have ever made rock cakes before, you'll know what the question might be. Do you put margarine on your rock cakes, or do you have it plain? Now, we did a survey at the headquarters here. Bill was a no. Diane was a no. But Annette was a yes. So I want to know how many of you would put margarine on, or would you have them plain? I need to know, because I believe that most people do, whereas Diane and Bill thought that no. I'm going to do that a little bit longer. 10 more seconds. So what we're going to do now is the wet mix, as I said. So the dry mix is done and dusted. Are you following me okay? Have you got all your stuff going? And now what we'll do is we'll put the milk in. I always put the milk in the margarine, because what happens is it then cools the margarine down. All right, so there's our marge all ready to go. Now we're going to put in, are you following the recipe? How much is it? Yes, half a cup. Half a cup of skim milk. Or you could use almond milk, you know, if you're wanting to be dairy-free. And you would want to use the Nuttelex, I would imagine, which is dairy-free, the light. So put that in. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add in the egg whites. And this is some of the ways that I've been able to lower this down from, I don't know, at least 12 grams of fat to a traditional rock cake by using the low-fat margarine, the skim milk, and not adding the egg yolks, because to be honest with you, you don't need them in the recipe. So I've just saved fats that I don't need. In we go. Now this is where you get your little whisk or your fork and just mix that together. So we've got our dry mix and now we've got our wet mix done. Are you following me here? How easy is this? Rock cakes, yum, what a great afternoon tea. And I'm going to be excited to see your photos when you put them up so you can win. Yes, we like winner, winner, chicken dinner. But before I go any further, can I just mention I'm super excited about my knives. I know, you've asked for it. And now you can buy these knives direct on my website. That's right, and I have got a special price and deal going for you right now, which is fabulous. And you'll get free postage, you get a knife sharpener with it. You go and check out simplytoogood.com.au and see why these are the best knives and why I've used them for years and years and years. I just think they're fantastic. So they're on my website now, and I'm excited to have them for you because I think they're so great. Look what I did. I just poured it in. Okay, so we had our dry mix, our wet mix, and now they're together. That's right, so you get your wooden spoon and mix them together. It's such an easy recipe, as I said before, and it's really easy to eat. But I think the key is 1. That's it, not 2 or 3 for afternoon tea, people. Hello, it's called Everything in Moderation is the key to good health and weight loss. So you make up these. Oh my gosh, you can freeze them. So if you're saying, Annette, what am I going to do with the leftovers? Freeze them. And then you can have them at a later date. How perfect is that? But if you are worried, then you can make them out of cooking for 1 or 2 and you only get 6. Whereas we've got 12 here today. There's more nose with the margarine? I don't believe it. I thought for sure I'd have support with that one. Diane said the yeses are very committed. I like that. All right, so there's our rock cake mix. I'm going to now spray my tray because we don't want them sticking. And we're going to now spoon out. I'm going to move this bowl so you can see, so don't worry. Put that there. All right, now remember this recipe is actually on the website. If you haven't downloaded it already and you say, oh, I don't have book 3 or the cooking for 1 or 2, that's okay, I've got you covered. So now we want a good spoonful. We can come back later if we have any left over. I always just try to start with a certain, like not overload in case I run out. But I want 12 because 12 is a really good size. Don't have them super close. They don't spread too much. And you don't want them touching. Remember when I did the scones ages ago and I said you want them to kiss? Well, these ones, we don't want them kissing. All right, so we want 12. So how many have I got there? 7, 8, 9. As I said, see how rough they are? You don't want them to be too perfect. I'm going to scrape out this mix because waste not, want not. And I'm going to steal a little bit because that's not enough for my 12th one. And I can see a couple of them, I was a little bit generous. Like you over here, you're not getting all of it. And you've got too much as well. There we go. Now what I do is I'll tidy them up a little bit. Yes, I want them rough, but I want them a little bit round. Let's get that out of the way. And then what we do is before they go in the oven, you're going to sprinkle some sugar on the top. Look, you don't have to do it if you don't want, but that's how the recipe is done. Let me wash my hands. Traditionally on rock cakes, you always put a sprinkle of sugar. So I'll look at my soapy hands. Get the sugar out. I want 2 teaspoons of allowed, and so I always put a teaspoon over each. Look, just sprinkle a little bit on, and it'll get a nice little crusty sugary top, which is gorgeous. I mean, these are so easy. I mean, who knew weight loss could be so deliciously healthy? Welcome to my world, and enjoy guilt-free. And as I said, remember, these are perfect for when you get surprise visitors, because you can just make them up quick in the oven, and before you know it, the kettle's on. So in the oven. Now, it says in the recipe 20 minutes, but my oven's a little bit quick. So I'm actually going to do 15 and check it. Now, next week's show, I'm a bit excited because I'm making beef and bacon burgers, and I think you'll love them because they're really great for young and old. And this is another one where you can do homework with Annette and get the kids in, and they're going to be squishing in with the mince and having a great time. But this Thursday, I'm making Chinese omelette out of book 5. It's one that we have a lot in our house, and I want to show you how to make the omelette. Super easy, but it's the sauce that is so fabulous. Now, if you would like to win either book 3 or cooking for 2, if you'd rather the smaller recipe, then all you have to do is post a picture. That's right, it's different on Tuesdays. So you like, you share, and then in the comments, I want to see a photo of your rock cakes. Let me show you mine. You show me yours, I'll show you mine. Here we go. There's a batch already done. I know we're excited. And they are the quickest and easiest thing you'll ever have. And they're just delicious. I don't care if they were from great-great-grandmother's day. Let's bring the goodies back. Now, if you want more recipes or tips, you know where to find me, simplytoogood.com.au. I think we're good here. Everything done? Fabulous. Oh yeah, don't forget you can freeze them if you have leftovers and you don't want to eat them all. Anyway, take care. Thanks for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed the cooking class, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on Thursday. Chinese omelette. Bye now.